Hi, and welcome to another video. So, if you guys haven't watched my last video where I reacted to my IB results, yeah, that was basically it. I got a 44, total 45 possible score. So I thought I feel obliged to make a how I got a certain score out of a certain score in a certain program. But anyways, yeah. So this will be a meshed video on tips and tricks to survive the IB, as well as how I actually got the 44. Yeah, without further ado, let's get straight into the video. Oh yeah, before we do that, like, subscribe, notification bell, stuff like that. Yada yada yada. Let's talk about study tips. I think if I were to classify study tips, well, at least what I did, I think I employed maybe two, maybe three study techniques over the course of the 2 years to help me in my studies. So the first one, note taking. Note taking. I'm sure everyone here has note taken before. Note take, note take, took notes before. I take notes pretty rigorously for every subject, I think, except for English, which might probably explain why I got a 6 on that. I used to take notes on books, so books like these, normal notebooks. They've been great. For the people that say you need an iPad or like a tablet to take notes, you really don't. Basically the same, note-taking wise, doing it on an iPad and on a physical notebook. The only difference, which I deem as important, is you're gonna have to lug these around, and there's only a finite amount of space you can write it about. So for the past year and a half, I've had about 5 notebooks for each subject, 2 or 3 notebooks for my physics and chemistry, and I had about 5 notebooks for my maths. It's difficult to lug around, and it's also pretty hard to organize stuff because there's so many notebooks. I mean, you can, it just takes more time. After my mock exams, for 4 months, I think, 4 to 5 months before my final exams, I got an iPad, and I've been using that iPad, this iPad, ever since to note take and to do everything on, and also to record my YouTube videos. So hey, it's been with me throughout the rest of my IB journey, and it's been a great help in note-taking wise. Not that my note-taking has changed, it's just that since I can keep everything on a device, it just helped with organization. I use GoodNotes. It's a really good app. There's like different folders and files, and you can put in different notebooks to organize each subject and everything. You can also sync it to the GoodNotes app on your MacBook. I don't know if they have it on Windows, and you can just look up your notes on your MacBook if you don't have your iPad there, which is great. The only problem is it's a paid app. And you know, the Asian in me is screaming whenever it says paid. And it's also not that cheap either. It's about $9, I think, which seems like a bit much to pay for an app, especially a note-taking app, when you have like notes for iPad for free. If you can afford it, it's a really good app. As to actual note-taking itself, I think there's a border that people cross between note-taking and then just regurgitating everything that the teacher says on paper. Remember to not only note take, but as you're note taking, try to incorporate that knowledge within you. It sounded really wisdomy and stuff, but yeah, like I said, don't just plainly copy stuff. It won't help you when you try to revise because you won't understand what you're revising. Set out some time later during the day where you could look back on those notes and figure out what they mean. Yeah. So let's move on to number 2, studying. There's a ton of different study methods that people use. I think the most generally accepted and promoted one is the Pomodoro Method, which is you study for a certain amount of time, and you take a short break, and then you study for that amount of time again, short break, rinse and repeat. It's a really good study method. It kind of works for me in a way. I used to do it a lot during the final months before my exams. Instead of the normal study periods where it was like what, half an hour, 25 minutes, I increased that to about an hour, and then I took like a 10-minute break, then an hour, 10-minute break, an hour, and then I rinsed and repeated that. I mean, you can play around with the study periods and rest times all you want, as long as you, when you study, You take your phone, turn on notifications, and throw it off. Studies have shown that even if you're not looking at your phone, as long as it's on the table, you will still be distracted by it. So just throw your phone away, don't break it. I will not be liable for any damages you cause when you throw your phone away. Throw it away and then focus on studying. Tip number 3, past papers. Past papers, past papers, past papers. Just do a shit ton of past papers. Any past papers that you can get
that you could do.
Any past papers that you can get a hold of, just do it. I think I've done past papers from 2020, the most recent ones, up to like 2013, and that includes both May and November time periods. Past papers are really important and are really helpful because they give you an idea of what the questions are going to be on. If you don't know where to look for past papers, look up ibdocuments.com. From there you can download all those past papers as PDFs for every subject. Do note that there's like a 2-week period before and during the exams where you can't access IB documents because of the whole cheating. So if you want to, just make sure you download everything you need before the exams. They're really helpful, also free. I'll also link it down below if you guys want to check it out. Now that we're done with all the study tips, let's actually go to my subjects. So I'm gonna start with my HL subjects first. So I took physics, maths, AA, and chemistry HL. So I'm gonna start with physics HL. I hear a lot of people complaining about how hard physics HL is. In reality, I completely agree with them. Physics HL is hard. There's no doubt about that. The reason I chose it was because I liked physics HL. Yes, I am that kind of degenerate that likes physics HL. Yeah, I chose physics HL on my own. I liked physics and I was generally pretty good at physics before I did physics HL. Physics HL is hard, especially fields and motion, especially projectile motion, stuff like that, kinematics. That usually messes me up, but as I've said, just do past papers, past papers, past papers. Review your teacher's notes. There's a couple websites I can recommend, such as Grade Gorilla or ExamMate, I think. So Grade Gorilla is a great website if you want to do multiple choice tests on physics or chem or maths or biology subjects. For ExamMate, they categorize questions by topic. So you can have like, oh, say I want to do physics, chapter 1 only questions. You can do that. Just do note that you can only access questions up to 2014, and if you want to access the newer questions, because the newer syllabus, you have to pay for that. Let's talk about maths. Maths AA HL is a pain and in the ass. It's hard. It really is hard. The worst thing about it is it's a new syllabus, so all May 2021 candidates didn't have anything to rely on. So we didn't have any Maths AA HL past papers. We had Maths HL past papers, which were still good, but they weren't completely the same. Thanks, IB. Note-taking isn't as important. The most important part is you doing questions upon questions upon questions upon questions, etc. Past papers, questions, all of that. If you guys want a good website, I recommend Revision Village. Not sponsored. It's a website that has mock exams. They also break down every topic for you guys. They also show how to answer questions, and their mark schemes for questions are really detailed. There's also videos showing you guys how to solve those questions, but it comes at a cost, and that cost is $99 US. It's expensive. I'm not gonna beat around the bush. It is expensive. However, and I'm not advocating for this, you can technically buy a Revision Village account and then divvy it among your friends, and then when you graduate, you can resell the account. I'm not advocating for this, of course. I am personally against this, but technically, moving past the illegalities of what I just said, yeah, Revision Village is good. It is pricey, but I think it is worth it if you have the extra cash to spend and you really want to do well in math. Chemistry. I don't know why I chose chemistry in the first place. I don't really like chemistry, but the highest scores that I get in my HLs were usually in chemistry, even though chemistry is also a pain in the ass, especially organic chem, nucleophilic substitution, electrophilic addition, all those stuff like that, drawing different compounds and molecules. Note-taking, I think, is especially important in chem. I took a lot of notes in chem. Again, as with basically most other subjects, past papers will save your life on that. If you guys want my chemistry notes, I think I can put them down below in the description. They aren't complete, and they're also mainly tailored for HL people, since I don't differentiate between SL and HL. So if you're SL, well, kind of out of luck there. Sorry about that. Moving on. SLs. So psychology, English, Spanish. Let's take psychology first. I didn't know any psychology before I took psychology. I also hated biology. And what I've come to terms with during those 2 years is that you don't need any experience in psychology to take psychology, at least in SL, which was my case. What you do need in psychology SL, you kind of need a good enough memory. Even in SL, there's already like 20 to 30 studies that you need to memorize. It's procedure, conclusions, results, sample size. You also need to memorize different theories, multi-store memory models, working memory models. It's a lot, but it is manageable if you know how to organize by the 3 different approaches. If you're able to do that, then I do recommend psychology, because it isn't as hard as people say it is. It's an easy 7 if you know what you're doing. Let's talk about Spanish. Spanish ab initio. The advice I could give is to memorize all the conjugations. So past, present, continuous, all of those conjugations. Memorize different vocabularies for each topic. So my teacher would give us Quizlets with different vocabs, and I would just do those Quizlets again and again and again until I knew what those words meant. Doing good in Spanish is probably one of the hardest things to do, because the grade boundaries are ridiculously high for Spanish historically. Like, I think it was 85 for a 7. Still is hard to get a 7 in Spanish ab initio SL, but it's doable. It's definitely doable. I mean, I did it and I had no prior experience in Spanish, so if I could do it, so can you guys. Finally, English. Kind of have a little dislike for English because it was the only subject that I got a 6 in. Fuck you, English. I don't have any advice I could give on English, since I didn't really do that well on it. I think it's more of a individual thing, because a text that may look easy to you might be hard for different students. The only thing I kind of did revise for English was the different vocabularies for the stylistic devices and also techniques used. That helped me in maybe increasing my analytical marking criteria. That's all the advice I could give for English. Now let's talk about the other components. So IAs, EEs, TOK. Let's talk about TOK. I don't know if my advice would be helpful for future TOK students, because I think the TOK syllabus changes and now you guys have to do what's called an exhibition, which is different to what I did. I did a presentation and an essay. The presentation, the only advice I could give, if you guys are still doing it, is find a topic that you're actually interested in, and a topic that's kind of broad enough. For your TOK essay, it gives you a very broad title, and you usually have to relate that title to 2 areas of knowledge. The advice I could give is to look at past TOK essays. That's what I did. I looked at past TOK essays. I looked at their structure, how they constructed their arguments, their counter arguments, and how they came to a conclusion. And I kind of took inspiration from all those different TOK essays that I did to make my own TOK essay. My TOK essay wasn't really that good. I got a 7 after moderation. Let's move on to E's and IAs. EE. I did a physics EE. Yes, an experimental EE. Kill me now. And I did it on aerodynamics, stability, stuff like that. I actually built my own wind tunnel. A teacher helped me build a wind tunnel, which I placed my 3D printed rocket that I designed. Yes, credit me. That I designed and put it in, testing the stability. The only advice I could give is, I think, seen elsewhere, set internal deadlines for yourself. So by this time, I should have completed my introduction and background. By this time, I should have completed my method. By this time, I should have completed my data collection, results, conclusions, stuff like that. Set individual deadlines for yourself so you don't get too complacent and you don't procrastinate too much, because I am a product of that procrastination, which has caused me a bunch of stress and a couple mental breakdowns in between. Moving on to IAs. IAs are kind of like EEs, but they're kind of shortened. So my advice from EEs would stay the same for my IAs, especially for my experimental IAs. Again, set yourself a deadline. IA specific advice I could give would be probably to focus on a good research question. If you have a good research question, the rest of your IA flows smoothly. If you don't have a good research question, you're gonna have to spend more time. You're gonna have a lot more pressure and stress to kind of make the rest of your IA fit with the research question. As long as you do your IAs well, you'll be completely fine. And they also take up 20% of your grade, so you kind of have to do them well. So yeah, I guess that's all the advice I could give. This video is poorly researched, poorly done, no script whatsoever. If you guys actually want to do well in the IB exams, I have a couple of videos here. I'll just put them up on the screen right here, that are done by people that are way more qualified than me in talking about the IB, more experienced. Either they have better grades than me or they know what they're talking about. And I'll also link down below. Check them out. They're gonna help you extensively in doing your stuff. Yeah, I don't know how long I'm gonna milk this IB thing for. Maybe until I go off to uni. But if you guys have any other recommendations for future videos, leave them down below in the comments. Follow me here, I guess. Wear your mask, wash your hands, and get the vaccine. And I'll see you guys soon. Peace.